This day and time. What happened today, years ago?
World War II, North Africa, June 21st, 1942, the fall of Tobruk.
Right, the Desert War. Logistics were everything. Germany sent Rommel, the Desert Fox, and the Afrika Korps to help the Italians. Tobruk, that deep water port in Libya, was absolutely vital for supplies.
Crucial. Control Tobruk, you control supplies deep into the desert. The British and Commonwealth forces had heroically held it against a long siege in 1941.
But things were different in 42.
Yes, the garrison was about 35,000 British, South African, Indian, Australians under South African General Klopper. But the sources stressed the defenses were weaker than in 41. Key guns, tanks, AA defenses had been moved elsewhere. Fortifications weren't fully maintained.
And Rommel had just won a victory.
He just defeated the British at Gazala. He immediately turned on Tobruk. But instead of a long siege like before, the sources describe a lightning attack, a surprise blitz.
How did it work?
He concentrated his armor and infantry on one sector, the southeast, and just punched through the outer line quickly. German panzers then exploited the breach, pushed rapidly into the city center. The South African units in that sector were encircled. Communications failed early. The whole defense just collapsed incredibly fast, within hours.
There wasn't a long fight.
Shockingly quick. Within 24 hours of the attack starting June 21st, the entire Allied garrison, about 33,000 men, surrendered unconditionally. A massive blow, one of Britain's worst defeats of the war in terms of prisoners taken.
Immediate results.
Huge boost for the Axis. They got the port, captured vast amounts of supplies. Rommel was promoted to field marshal on the spot. His forces then surged eastwards, hundreds of kilometers towards Egypt, reaching El Alamein. Churchill called it a heavy and painful shock.
But there was a downside for Rommel.
Yes, the sources point this out clearly. This rapid advance stretched his already thin supply lines to the breaking point. Those supplies had to come across the Mediterranean, vulnerable to British sea and air power. Capturing Tobruk was great, but supplying the army beyond Tobruk became incredibly difficult.
So it set the stage for later defeat.
Exactly. It led directly to the battles of El Alamein later that year, where the British finally stopped and then defeated Rommel. Tobruk highlights Rommel's brilliance in attack, but also the absolute centrality of logistics in that theater, and maybe some Allied complacency after the 41 success.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more history daily.